NFC Championship. 1, 2, 3, take
Hey everybody, welcome to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. I am John Clark, he is Ike Reese, he's Mike Quick, and we're talking Super Bowl. The Eagles are going to the Super Bowl in Arizona, and this is going to be an amazing matchup against their former head coach, Andy Reid, Ike Reese's former head coach, Andy Reid. And what's great about going into this matchup, we've seen the two playoff games here at home at the Link. They've started fast on both sides of the ball. Offensively, They went right down the field, scored touchdowns against the 49ers and Giants. What is the key to doing that?
Well, I'll tell you, look at the way the Eagles have started off both of their playoff games. We know they've opened up drives with scoring, but also I want to give a little credit to that defense, only allowing 14 points in 2 games. You look at Sunday's game, the defense did a great job of really sustaining that intensity in which you wanted to play with the entire game. What you mentioned, John, the opening drive. I love the way the Eagles went down on both opening drives. You get a touchdown, and you look at what this offensive line was able to do in the running game. That first touchdown with Miles Sanders, you watch these guys come off the ball, that left side with Landon Dickerson and Jordan Mailata up on a double team. You're getting Jason Kelsey with Isaac Seumalo on that backside. Look how they reestablished the line of scrimmage there. Miles Sanders is able to walk into the end zone almost untouched to really get this scoring going.
Yeah, and it's so important to start fast, and we saw that, as you said, the first couple of weeks. And I just think that this team, when they're, especially at home, when they can control the crowd early in the game, and that's what they're able to do, keep the crowd into the game. And the play that I'm going to show you, in particular, keeps the crowd into the game. They're going to go for it on 4th down. It's 4th and 3, and you know you got to have it. So when Jalen gets the football, he's going to look topside. There's too much congestion at the route on the top side, so what does he do? He starts to move. He moves to his left. You've got DeVonta Smith down there in the slot. He runs that out cut, but recognizing that the timing is not there any longer, he's in the scramble mode. It's scramble drill. So he gets up the field, and Jalen puts the ball out there, but it's one of these catches that you've got to be an acrobat. So he makes the move. He gets his hand on the football. He pulls it in, pulls it down, but unsure as to whether or not it's truly a catch. And you watch him as he jumps up, and right away, he's doing that motion to let everybody know we need to go tempo. So they're able to go tempo, they get the play off, and sure enough, later it's determined that it wasn't really a catch, but it's too late. But that awareness to get up and make sure that you're keeping everybody moving, keeping the thing moving, is a big, big thing, and they're able to keep that drive alive and keep the tempo, keep everybody into the game, and that was so important, that quick start.
And there is so much for the Chiefs defense to prepare for with this Eagles offense. They can run it, they can throw it. They didn't even need Jalen to throw more than 155 yards in either game, and they ran the ball. So how will the Chiefs defend this? Let's talk about that Birds offense. Let's get some self-scouting with Greg Cosell, presented by Golden Nugget Jewelers.
When I was watching the Eagles offense versus the 49ers defense on tape, there's something that really stood out to me, and I got to tell you, I really, really liked it. You know, we always talk about the importance of Jalen Hurts in this offense, and we're not talking about throwing the football. We're talking about what he means to this offense and the impact it has on defenses, because when he's in the shotgun, his running element really creates issues for defenses that they must prepare for. They have no idea what's going to happen, but they must be prepared. And there were 2 plays on the same drive, only 3 or 4 plays apart, that really stood out. A Kenneth Gainwell 17-yard run, and then the 13-yard touchdown by Miles Sanders. It was the exact same play. So let's start with Gainwell's 17-yard run. You see Hurts in the gun, but what's also important here is what you have on the right side of the formation. It's a tight bunch look with Goddard number 3. So what you have here is you have 3 elements to this particular play. You have an inside zone handoff to Gainwell. You have a zone read element with Hurts. And you have a bubble screen to the right side of the formation with Goddard with 2 blockers out in front. The Niners have to be prepared for all of that. So what you get here is you get the inside zone handoff to Gainwell, and the Niners do not have enough bodies to play that run to the left side of the Eagles offense. And it's a 17-yard run. So now we go a few plays later. As I said, same drive. And as soon as I saw the formation, I said to myself, this could well be the same play. And it was. So what do you have? You have the inside zone run element with Miles Sanders this time. You have the zone read element with Jalen Hurts. And you have the bubble screen again to Goddard. Tight bunch. So again, the 49ers have to be prepared to play each of these three potential plays that could occur after the snap of the ball. That's the critical piece. So what happens again? It's an inside zone handoff to Miles Sanders. Again, not enough bodies for the 49ers to handle the inside zone run to the left side of the Eagles offense, and Miles Sanders scores easily. These two plays in many ways are so representative of what the Eagles do in the run game, because you have the Jalen Hurts factor, which is so much a part of this offense. And it's one of the things that makes this run game so difficult to defend.
Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local Tri-State Toyota dealers, proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. Pepsi, Eagles watching, better with Pepsi. PA Lottery, there's a lot of love for the PA Lottery, and when you see how fun it is, you'll understand why.
What's going on?
Good luck. Good.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. What's good?
How you, son?
I'm good, man.
See you, man.
For sure.
Good luck today. That's how you play ball.
Went straight through my hand.
Yeah.
That's a good ball. Our ball. Our ball. Come on.
Mama, I'm going to that ball. I'm going to the Super Bowl. Yeah, man.
Hey, love you, boy.
You too.
One more.
Let's do this. You already know.
All right, that fast start on offense was helped out by DeVonta Smith, recognizing he had to get back to that line of scrimmage. How about the fast start by Haason Reddick? He had 2 sacks on the first 2 drives, and he forced a fumble with the quarterback, and he leads the NFL in forced fumbles over the last 3 years. He is a weapon, as he calls himself.
Yeah, some would say he should be a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year.
Maybe.
But I tell you what, he's certainly making his candidacy known to everybody through the playoffs. You mentioned what he did against the New York Giants. 2 sacks really turned that game around early on the first drive. Well, he came out and did the same thing in the game against the San Francisco 49ers. Let's take a look at the big play that we've all seen a bunch this week. Now, they have this ghost action coming with Deebo Samuel to try to hold Haason Reddick. But here's what I like about Haason Reddick, his awareness on the play. He understands Deebo's not getting the ball. He can clearly see with his eyes, because he has them on the quarterback, that Brock Purdy still has the football. And as you watch him attack Brock Purdy here, here's the difference in today's game, and he's the best example of doing it. Gone are the days where you try to get big hits on quarterbacks to knock them out the game.
Right.
You have to go for the football. Haason Reddick is intentionally going for the throwing arm of Brock Purdy here. Not only that, when he gets to the throwing arm, he's making sure he doesn't hit Brock Purdy in a way that they could call some sort of unsportsmanlike conduct or some personal foul on roughing the passer. He slides down, great getting the ball out, ball's in the air. It's a fumble, and then great job by Linval Joseph. This is why you don't quit on plays. Great job by him clearly recovering this ball.
Yes.
We know this turned into a big play, but I think the important thing about this play is how Haason Reddick attacks Brock Purdy. It's not just going for the big hit, it's attacking the arm. Haason Reddick leads the NFL over the last 3 years in forced fumbles. It's because of plays like this.
We know that Haason Reddick and the defensive line has been the main sack generator for the Eagles defense this season. But they've also been a little creative with selected pressure schemes in critical situations like 3rd down. And I want to show you a couple of plays from the Giants' playoff victory a couple of weeks ago, because I think this is reflective of what the Eagles can do. So let's start with the pressure. What you're going to see here is Kaiser White and Marcus Epps. They're both second-level defenders here to the right side of the Giants' offense. they're going to be part of a 5-man pressure. Because what the Eagles will do here is drop the defensive end opposite Robert Quinn. He will drop out into coverage. So this is a 5-man zone pressure. And what happens here? Marcus Epps will get in clean. Daniel Jones knows that Epps can't be picked up by the protection, so he has to get rid of the ball quickly. And he throws it out in the flat where James Bradbury makes a tackle short of the first down, forcing the Giants to punt. So that was a good example of using pressure to speed up the quarterback, because the Giants' pass protection could not pick up the overload pressure to the right side of the offensive line. So keep that in mind as we go 2 possessions later. Here, the look is very, very similar. You see Kaiser White and Marcus Epps. They almost look as if they're in the same alignment as they were on the previous play that we just saw. So what happens? The Giants' protection recognizes that. What do? They slide fully to that side. And what does that do now? It leaves Josh Sweat unblocked. But here's the critical part. This time, White and Epps do not come. So you get the full slide by the offensive line with no one blocking Josh Sweat. Sweat gets in, forces Jones out of the pocket. He throws it away. They force another punt. So those were 2 plays in the same game, 2 possessions apart, that I really, really liked as I look back on the Eagles in their playoff run.
All right, so Greg just showed us a couple of the pressure schemes where we saw defensive ends dropping back into coverage, and Greg also highlighted some of the positives from a play call like that. Well, one of the other positives that you can get from those kinds of schemes where you drop the defensive ends back is that you can isolate your interior rushers one-on-one and dictate to the offense where you want to get those single blocks. And if you can get an opportunity to get Fletcher Cox or Javon Hargrave one-on-one, that's a win for the defense, especially when you look at what Hargrave has done this year for this Eagles defensive front. And that's why I want to kind of hyper-focus in on number 97 this week for our tape study segment presented by Chickies and Pete's, where we take a look at Hargrave all season long, his ability to win as a pass rusher one-on-one. And it's not just about the first step quickness, because we do see that here against Washington. Watch that front hand, and you're going to see that here from the defensive line. When you get that vertical first step, that ability to win up the field, what you're typically looking at with that first step is to replace that front hand. So you see his left hand down in the dirt, and just watch that first step. It is going to get to that level over and over. You can just rewind this back and forth. You can see how much ground he's eating with that first step. He's going to attack up the field, and off that first step, he can win with either speed or power. And that's one of the things that sets Hargrave apart. He's got the ability to win with speed or power. You can see he just burrows his way through the inside shoulder of the guard and gets home for a sack. That's early in the season against Washington, and you have to respect that with Javon Hargrave. At any point, he can win upfield with that first step and threaten your edge as an offensive lineman. Javon Hargrave, to me, it's not just about what he does with his first step, it's what he does with his second step. And we're going to see an example of that here last week in the NFC title game against San Francisco, where he's going to be matched up once again with the left guard of the 49ers. And the guard, he's got to be ready. He knows he's one-on-one. He's got the ability, Javon Hargrave, to win on that inside gap with his first step. And if you watch, Hargrave comes off the ball and he's going to show that first step quickness, but he understands that, hey, you know what? The guard knows that he has to be very aggressive with his set. He's got to come inside and protect that A gap, because you don't want Hargrave running with an B line to the quarterback. So the offensive lineman, he has to set really hard to his inside gap and prevent Hargrave from winning in that way. But look at what Hargrave does. It's not about the first step on this rep. He instead is going to go first step, almost lateral. He's not gaining a ton of ground. He doesn't replace his hand like we saw on that previous snap, right? He almost steps in place there on that first step, and instead of attacking the inside A gap, Instead, he's going to count on the overset from the offensive lineman, and now he's going to win in the B gap. He sets the offensive lineman up for failure, wins with his hands, and gets home for the sack. We see this time and time again with Javon Hargrave. Yes, he can win with that first step and get into the backfield with both speed and power, but the way he sets up blockers for failure, winning with his second step, to me, that's what sets him apart from so many defensive tackles in the NFL, and it makes him a very tough matchup on the inside, something we've seen throughout the regular season, the postseason, and certainly in the Super Bowl next Sunday.
Hey, guys, bring it up real quick. Awesome job. Awesome job. We're one win away. Yep. We're one win away from something that we all dreamed about for a very long time. But remember this, the goal wasn't just to get there. We got one more. We got one more. Might as well win the whole thing. Let's go. Great job. Happy for everybody in here. This is a special group of men. Let's go finish it off. Let's go.
All right, Nick Sirianni, of course, fired up, but talking about one more to go in the Super Bowl when he was talking to his team. Nick Sirianni tied for the most wins in the NFL regular season, 14, leading the Birds to the Super Bowl in his second year. Interesting that he's not one of the Coach of the Year finalists. Kind of crazy. What stands out?
Not interesting. It's wrong.
It's wrong. You tell him.
He should be. He should be in that list.
Yeah, 3-0 against Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll's on the list. What stands out most to you about Nick and his coaching?
I just think that they're young guys. They're innovative guys. They're smart. They talk about connecting with players. All of those things you see on display each and every week. I think this coaching staff and these players, they are tied to the hip. Players really like this coaching staff, and they play for this coaching staff and for one another. You hear all of these things out of Nick Sirianni, but it's not just talk. It's the way that they go about their business every day. It's the way that they live. You know, when he came into the building, he talked about explosive plays and not giving up explosive plays. And all the things that they've talked about, it's really what they work on, what they preach each and every day. One of the reasons why this team has been so successful in the 2 years under Nick Sirianni.
Here's the other thing that I love that Nick has done since he's gotten here, and I thought Doug did this as well when he was here as a coach. He's allowed these players to take ownership of this team.
Sure.
You know, it's not a dictatorship. Like, this is your team. It should be important to you to have a winning culture, a culture that's filled with selflessness, where you'll do things for the betterment of the team. If you don't have the head man not only just preaching it, but displaying it himself, then it's going to be hard to follow. And that's what these players have realized from the beginning with Nick Sirianni, that he's authentic and is genuine, and he has a coaching staff that really embodies the exact same things that he's preaching to his players.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. We're about 1 week away from the Super Bowl. When you look at this matchup, Chiefs are in the Super Bowl for the third time in 4 years.
Yeah.
Eagles, of course, with a young quarterback, young head coach in the Super Bowl. So what matchups are you looking at the most about a week away?
Well, you got to start with that Chiefs offense. You're talking about the best quarterback in football right now and the best of this young generation in Pat Mahomes.
Sure.
Making sure that he doesn't have an explosive football game through the air, which means you're going to also have to know where number 87 is at, and Travis Kelce. So I'm looking at this Eagles defense. Make Pat Mahomes beat you with someone else. Not saying that he can't, but at least make him beat you with someone else. Can't let number 87 have a record day, because he'll go to him over and over and over if he's available.
We talked about the coaching staff a little bit earlier, and I think it really falls on Shane Steichen to make sure that he understands what the defensive coordinator of Kansas City, Steve Spagnuolo, wants to do. Is he going to blitz some of the things that he's done in the past, or is he going to play zone, a little more of what we've seen out of him recently? And when Steichen figures that out, he'll know how to attack that defense. That's going to be hugely important in this football game.
And this was a bye-week edition of Eagles Game Plan, but next week we will be back with a Super Bowl edition of Eagles Game Plan. He's Mike Quick. He's Ike Reese. I'm John Clark. Enjoy the build-up. Enjoy the week, everybody. Thanks for watching. Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local Tri-State Toyota dealers, proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. Pepsi, Eagles watching, better with Pepsi. PA Lottery. There's a lot of love for the PA Lottery, and when you see how fun it is, you'll understand why.